Hi, how you all doing? Was just said there, I don't want this to just go on for the whole thing and maybe some questions at the end. So anything you're thinking about during the wee presentation, just let me know, please. Just trying to share the screen here. Why is this changed? 2 wee seconds. Hopefully that's went now. Is that okay?
Yep, that's Craig. We can see you.
Perfect. Okay, so, like we said, my name's Craig Charlick. I'm a maths teacher in Holyrood. I'm also dual qualified as a techie teacher, so I'm kind of coming this from the practical sense, practical kind of classes, as well as just your kind of traditional maths textbook work as well. I'm doing this on an iPad, but I'll be doing it through the Internet Explorer rather than the apps, just because I'm aware that most of you might just be doing this on a computer. So, I've been using Microsoft Teams, I've been using Showbay. We've also got a website that we can use called My Maths, but every time I've been using the three of them, I just keep coming back for Showbay, just because the ability to get the feedback to the pupils individually is just so much easier. By doing this distance learning, I was thinking about, it's like fishing. You can be sitting there all day, nothing is happening. Then at 3 o'clock, you get a couple people biting, sending you wee bits of information. You respond to them, then they just disappear. It's happening all the time in Microsoft Teams. We're using Showbay. I just feel, I don't know if it's just more psychologically, it's just feels I've got a wee bit better connection. Okay, so I started using this before. I started doing this before. As soon as we got the iPads in the school, I was quite proactive in looking at Teams and Showbay, etc. So some of the stuff I'd started in class, but as lockdowns happened, I've just started using it daily, and that's when Showbay's kind of stuck out a wee bit more, especially for feedback and just. I'm just going to do a couple of ideas of how it's helping me now, but especially when we go back to school in the classroom, it might just help take away some of the workload and stop having to go home with jotters to mark. So when you go into Showbay, I'll just shut that bit down there, sign in. It's important that you do it with your Bro, so everything comes up and you get any notifications. But when the kids are using Showbay, every time they put up information or ask a question, you're going to get an email. That isn't great, because every single time your inbox is just going to get more and more full, and it's just going to load it all up. So what I've learned to do is go into the notification preferences, and when it's going into your classes and discussions, see if it's a comment or files being added. I'm just getting it sent as a notification, but when the assignment's finished, I'm getting it to be sent as an email, just so your inbox isn't totally populated with Showbay when you're trying to find something that's maybe a little bit more important. So that was the first thing. Another thing I wanted to say just before I kind of get into the stuff I've been doing is, I'm sure you've all found out, if you've given out usernames or passwords, the kids straight away are asking for it. They don't know their username, their password once they've logged in. Something else I would make sure that they're doing is putting in an email. They can log in, they can sign up to Showbay and not using an email. But specifically, if you're sending them work and they don't have an email address, they might not know it's there. they might forget to go onto Showbie and Nook. So if they've at least got the email, they're getting sent that, and it should remind them to go onto it. That's just something I've found out. I've just been trying to emphasise to the pupils to make sure that's all up to date. Okay, so everything I'm going to show you today is work that's been done by pupils, but I'm unable to show you the specific work from the class because it's with the name, etc. So I'm not allowed to do that. So just it's not just all fabricated. So what you usually do, when I first started using Showbie, I would just create the class, and then from here I would just start putting in assignments. My advice now, after using it for a couple months, don't do that because you're just going to overpopulate this screen, and it's going to be hundreds of assignments all in here, and it's going to be very messy. So for example, if I just went into that, I've got it nice and laid out with the numbers, etc. But if you just had it as the titles, it gets very messy very quickly. So what I've started doing is make sure you're creating a new folder, and then from that, setting each topic so you can just quickly jump in it, whatever you're looking for. That was something I found a lot handier now. Let's have a wee look. If I pop up to my second year class, I've got loads of topics here where I'm just jumping onto, and it's telling me if it's corrected or assigned, or if I want to see everything, I'm just popping into all the assignments. But it just makes it a lot easier to navigate through, because especially when you get a notification that Joe Blogs has handed in a piece of work, trying to go through all the folders to find exactly where it is or where the comment is can be a wee bit annoying. And as we know, if something's not smooth or you're getting fed up with it, if we're getting fed up with it, the pupils are going to get fed up with it and they're not going to use it. So it's just trying to make it as easy as possible. So when I first started using this, I was using Microsoft Teams as well. When I was trying to upload stuff onto Microsoft Teams, though, if it was on an iPad, they want the pupils, if you uploaded a PDF, it wasn't really working, and other files like that. And like I just said, if it's not smooth, people aren't going to use it. It might be hard enough for the pupils to get the motivation, but as soon as they're getting a little hiccup, they're just going to stop and just say, I don't know how to do it, I'll turn it off, no one's going to moan at me. So it's just trying to make it smooth as possible. But what I found with Showbie is anything you want to put up, it's taking it. If it's a picture, if it's a video, like I said, I've been doing it on the iPad. So what I've been doing is recording a lesson on the iPad, loading that up, and that's allowing the pupils to watch the video and then do their work in their jotter, then send in a photo. Now, the first kind of things I was doing is, here's just a wee example, bit of work done. I've got a stylus for the iPad, so I was just kind of ticking the work, doing a little comment, and then moving on. This was as close as if you had the kids in front of you in the class. That is maybe what you'd be doing there. But that's not going to work for anyone, because not everyone's got a stylus. If you're doing this on your computer, it's going to be hard to just do any sort of writing. Or if you're doing it on your phone, if you're like me, big fat fingers, it's very clumsy and it's not neat. So if that's what's going to happen, you're just not going to use it. It's not just going to be valued. So that's how I kind of started off doing this. And then something to be wary about is, so for example, I gave out the first lesson down here. Then this pupil sent in work. Second lesson, sent in work. Have a wee comment here, just a bit of comment. Third lesson, then sent in more work. The only issue I had behind this is you would have seen on previous webinars, it said, I'm not really want to do this as this is how you use Showbie. There's enough webinars out there. But what they say is you'll come up here with a paperclip. But as soon as that pupil makes the first comment, that paperclip will show. So it will say that there's a paperclip and you've responded to it. But even after that, if they mention something and you just have a wee overall look, you might think you've responded to it and it hasn't, and you actually go into it. So the way what I've decided to do is, like before I said about the folders, if you are doing any additional lessons, make sure you have it as a separate file. Because I got tripped up a couple of times. For example, they've done first lesson, second lesson, not done third. When I've just looked on it from the outside, it looks like I've marked it or seen it, but I actually hadn't. So that's just something to be wary of. But I started to step away from the kind of traditional feedback, just written notes, etc. And I went on to voice notes. Now, when the head teacher and the digital coordinator in the school was talking about Showbie and saying about voice notes, I was a little bit uneasy. Yeah, in my head I sound like Morgan Freeman, but I know that's most certainly not the case. So I was not too sure about putting a voice note on a piece of work that all the kids can access. But when I actually thought about it, they hear my voice every day anyway, so me putting a voice note on a bit of paper isn't anything new to them. The only person that doesn't hear my voice every day is myself. So it's only me that actually had the issue. The pupils, it's nothing new to them. They're not bothered. So once I actually got over that, I started using the voice notes a wee bit more. So here's another piece of work I done, and I don't know how well you can see it, but all you can see is the wee voice notes that I've added on. Sadly, the way the iPad works, I can't play that and you'll hear it, so you would just hear nothing. But it's just helped to take away time and give proper feedback, the feedback you'd be given in the class talking to the pupils, rather than a little comment. So if I was writing out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 comments, if I was writing that out on the back of paper, that would take me a good few minutes easily, where doing the voice notes took me 30 seconds, 40 seconds, wee quick questions asking the pupils. And you can use it to get them to answer back. So it's not that if I ask the pupil here, why have you done it this way, they don't need to take a new page in the drawer. They could just simply do the wee voice note back. But that's something that you just kind of, it'd be a lot easier to start doing if it was in the distance learning, because you're getting the pupils in class and getting their confidence up to put on the little voice note. But it has worked. Prior to the distance learning, prior to lockdown, I'd actually set the kids a task, and it was you teach me. So I'd give the kids a question, and they were to teach me how to do it. So in Holyrood, they've all got the iPads, so we're able to do it on the iPad. But this could be the beauty about Showbie, is you can do it on your phone, you can do it on a computer, you can do it on the iPad. It's just a website, so there's no reason that pupils can't get access as long as they've got the internet. This here, what I'm going to put on, this is a video that they've done on the iPad, but this could be easily a bit of paper, a pen, and just videoed on the mobile phone. So it's just this about what I've found very beneficial with Showbie, is just the ability for the pupils to do tasks that you would maybe do in class, but get them to do it at home. So you're able to see that greater understanding of topics. So that's the kind of way I've moved on with the feedback and the voice notes. That's kind of taken me to my current practice, what I'm kind of doing daily now with pupils. So what I'm doing is, let's go to the names here, but I'll do a movie on the iPad, or I could be giving them a website, I could be giving them whether just a worksheet handed out, setting that for the time whenever it comes to the end of that assignment and putting up the answers. This pupil here handed it in late. You can see that it handed in later than the deadline. But all I've done on their work is left a couple voice notes. I can see, because you're getting the evidence in front of you, usually if they're handing it before the deadline, you're seeing they're doing the work, you can just highlight a couple areas, then you're just putting up all the answers anyway, and they can self-mark. You're having a wee holistic look at the work anyway. You see if they're going on the right lines, you're giving them the advice, do the voice note. So it's not that taking 30 jotters home every night to mark every little bit. It's having that, being able to have that conversation that you would have in class, that little bit of verbal feedback, but you've got a record of it as well. How many times are you in class and you're talking to a pupil, you walk away from them, you look at them, and you know they just haven't listened to a word you said, or just lost concentration, then you need to repeat yourself. Well, just by using the show break, they can just play that voice note over and over. And if they still don't get it, you can then try and explain it a different way. So I found it very handy that way. So that's the way I've kind of moved now. It's all about impact. Has it worked? Using the voice note. Where is it? Sure, uploaded one. No, I can't find it. It was just a screenshot of feedback I got from a pupil said they really understood it, and something that I'd said in the voice note, and I just thought it just showed the impact. Sometimes if you're just writing things down or putting in a comment, it just doesn't have the same as talking to the pupil, them hearing your voice. What I found as well, I don't know if it's just psychologically with myself, leaving the voice notes is kind of pushing you a wee bit closer to thinking that you're actually teaching. You're having that personal connection. I don't know if it's just me, but I think just if you're giving out to the pupils worksheets, websites, videos that other people have done, they're not seeing that, they're not taking that as the teacher, so they're maybe becoming a little bit more disengaged, especially for the ones that need that maybe extra wee bit of motivation to push on. If you're not happy doing the voice notes, a little bit of advice I would have is here's a wee puzzle. So this was a piece of work I set out, and the pupils just wrote on it with a pen, annotated it, and then they could have done a voice note, just easy in. That's not too bad. The type of puzzle that might be quite handy for them just to write it in. If you're doing feedback, you could do it with the puzzle. Something that they'd just like to highlight, if you do it with the voice note and you're doing it with the voice note, you can minimise it like you've seen previously, so it will just be your kind of logo, whatever that may be, in there. If you're doing a comment, it's quite similar. Okay, that's just random. Then you can minimise it, so there's a wee comment. If you're doing feedback on it, I would suggest doing it that way, because if you do the text box, so for example, if I set the text box there and I write out, as soon as I come off that, it's just it's a bit hidden. You don't know what the background's going to be, and you might be going over work, where at least with the comment you can move it to the side and keep it there. So that's just something I found. So yeah, that's the kind of main thing. When it came on to testing, like what I found very useful on Microsoft Teams was being able to use Microsoft Forms. So that was kind of one thing I wasn't sure about if I was just going to kind of focus on Shobi. The issue I've kind of found is if you jump between teams and Shobi, some kids will pick up some things, some kids won't pick up others. They'll only be looking at teams, they might only be looking at Shobi. It's just trying to make it as clear as possible that we just want to kind of use one platform with the pupils, maybe across the whole school, the whole subject, and it just kind of works that little bit more fluid. But the thing that Shobi does with Socrative, so when you've got the Shobi account, you've also got a Socrative account. Socrative is quite similar to Microsoft Forms, but it's got a wee bit more. What I mean by that is, I think the strength of Socrative isn't actually for the quiz. It's more things that you can do in class. So, for example, you could have the kids in front of you, if they've got a device on Socrative, you could put up a question, a quick fire question, and they would just answer true or false, and they'd be able to populate what the opinion is of the class and let you know if you can move on. It'd be good if it was a hinge question or something, just for you to get a good gauge of the class. What you need to do though, if you're doing a quiz, like I said, it's just quite similar to forms. It does take a wee bit of time when you get started, multiple choice, etc., loading in the questions, A's, B's and C's. But once you've done it, it's there forever. How does it show? Let's have a wee look here. Here's a previous class that I've done. I gave them out a quiz. This was just at the end of the lesson. I just gave them a wee plenty, 2 questions. How have they done? And it's popping up straight away with, if you want to know what the question is, how did we do? 93 went on to C, 7% went on to B. Okay, and it just, especially at the end of the class, you might see how many people done got a wee quick holistic, but if you've got a wee bit of time later, you can see exactly what people never really done as well as you would hope, what pupils were getting out, if there was a kind of common theme. It's just kind of having that record that at the end of the class you've got 5-10 minutes. You're not always going to be able to remember. If you've got, especially in secondary, 5-6 classes in a row, you might not take down the information. Well, at least this is kind of storing it for you every single time. You can also just leave it as a short answer, and you can just look at if that was just you get exit tickets as well. So that's kind of handy. What I just want to quickly show you, because we're kind of running out of time. Please remember, just ask questions as if you've got any. How do we link this up to Shobi? So what we do here is we add a room. So add a room, quite straightforward. We do not need to add a roster or anything. We do not need to add any pupils into it. We do not need to give them a code. Once you've done that, that's fine. So if I come out of this now, and I'll go back to Shobi, what I will do is I can go down to whatever class I'm doing. Let's go for the quiz. When I go into the quiz, I'm just going to share the items. So now, when I go to share the items, I want to add a file. So I go to the quiz and say connect to a Socrative room. So I've already created one that was for webinar, I think it was. It will pop up with all the rooms I have in Socrative. See, this one is already linked with my 2P3 class. Example room web, and then you just go to continue. Okay, so I've connected to that room, and it just means now on Socrative, everyone who is in my Shobi class will be populated there. If I want to, you need to have the quizzes already made at this point. You select the quiz, then it should load up. It's one of them. It's let's try that again. World facts quiz. Usually that just pops up there. I don't know why that's not been the case. But that's the first time for everything, and it's always going to happen when you're doing this webinar. Here's the quiz. World facts quiz. Usually that just loads up. What it will do is it asks you specific questions about how you want to deliver the quiz, if you want instant feedback, etc. Just so that pupils can see their answer straight away. One of the benefits, let's see if I'll pop onto this and I'll pop back to Socrative. If I go to reports and I'm saying this one here, if I go to reports there, I can take all the information off it and put it in a whole class Excel sheet, so I've got a record of it. What I can also do is just individual student PDFs. So what I can do is I can send out an email to all the students with their answers and a record of the test. This is where it's important again to make sure that all the pupils have an email when they've logged into Shobi, just so it connects it. So there is extra benefits you can get off using Socrative with the Shobi. I see that's me kind of coming up to the end of time. Hopefully this has been useful. I just think the main thing I've found beneficial about Shobi is just the ability to do the voice notes. By doing the voice notes I feel it's kind of keeping a closer connection with the pupils. I've had a lot more interaction through Shobi than I have had through Microsoft Teams. Bits of advice, you might have seen it. This is where it's harder to do this. If you're starting to set this up now rather than doing it in class, once you give people the class settings, you can just make that disappear. So once you've given out that code, you can shut it down, and it means no one else can join your class. So it means whoever's in your class is in it, no one else can come in. It just stops people maybe coming in. And for example, you've got the class discussion. Like if you had that open, it means it would stop anyone random coming in and maybe saying something not so pleasant. But hopefully that's been beneficial.